Greetings and welcome back to the channel. Honestly, this is a video I've been kind of dragging my feet on making because, as you can see, the tank isn't doing all that well right now. In fact, I'm in the middle of a full-blown tank crash. Now, this has been going on for probably the last 3 weeks at minimum, maybe almost a month. And at this point, I pretty much have lost 99% of my acroporas in the tank. I've tried several methods to try and salvage the situation, but nothing has worked. As far as I can tell, it seems that maybe the catalyst for all of this was a heater that failed. In fact, it was a brand new Eheim heater that I had put in the tank to replace the previous one that had failed in the off position and was providing no heat to the tank. In the subsequent time since discovering the heater failure, I've purchased an Inkbird temperature controller in order to at least protect the tank from any further damage. To be honest, I'm still using the heater. I just have it on the Inkbird, which prevents the temperature from going too high. As I mentioned, I've attempted to try and mitigate the situation as best I could, because and granted this is just my theory, the elevated temperatures, because I think, at least I'm pretty sure the tank was running 84, 85 degrees for maybe a week or two. Thing is, I'd never noticed it because I don't run a controller or that monitors temperature. I had no indicator of the temperature other than when I happened to put my hand in the tank and noticed that it felt warm, and I subsequently used my HANA salinity checker, which gave me a temperature reading. At that point, my only option was to unplug the heater and order an Inkbird, which fortunately Amazon Prime came later that day. I want to say within maybe 3 or 4 hours. But nonetheless, the damage was done. And it didn't happen initially. Initially, I thought, well, hopefully things will be okay. But as time went on, I started losing piece after piece. And then the major crash set in, where the vast majority of the acropora just started to peel. Got so bad that at one point the water in the tank was just milky, and the entire living room was filled with just this terrible smell of coral death. In fact, you could even smell it when you went upstairs in the house, in other rooms. As a result, I had to do, I would imagine, a minimum of 4 or 5 water changes just to get the tank to a point where, it wasn't affecting the entire house. And that got the water to a point where it was clear again, and I didn't notice the LPS corals as stressed out as they may appear in the video right now. But nonetheless, again, the damage was done. And even if you may see a couple of acros that are actually still alive in the video, that didn't last long. In fact, I ended up having to pull out the vast majority of them, of the dead skeletons, a couple of days ago. Funny though, none of the monopora were affected by it. Even the bird's nests weren't overly affected by it. They don't look great, but they're not dead. And like I said, I employed several methods to try and mitigate it. I started dosing erythromycin in the form of chemiclean for a little less than a week. Didn't notice any difference. And so then I brought out the big guns and started dosing Cipro every night for about a week, and didn't notice any difference. The corals still died. There were, like I said, a few hangers on that I was thinking, well, maybe these will ride it out and make it, but in the end, no, they peeled, and I ended up having to, again, pull all of the skeletons out. I sent off an ICP test, and at the time of this recording, it's been well over a week since I put it in the mail, so I'm still waiting for the results to see if maybe there was some contaminant introduced into the tank that caused the sudden die-off of the acropora. My best theory right now is the temperature spike killed off some beneficial bacteria that may have been keeping the problematic ones at bay, and with those out of the way, the problematic bacteria, whether it's Vibrio or something else, just had free reign and just wiped out the acropora. I gotta admit, it's really discouraging to see years of growth just peel away and just leave nothing but skeletons. As shown in the videos, I also am dealing with an outbreak of dinos in the tank, because, and I'm just finding this out within the past couple of days, another hardware failure. My dosing pump that was dosing nitrate into the tank, apparently one of the heads, or the head that was dosing nitrate, failed, and it wasn't putting in any into the tank, and my nitrates bottom out along with my phosphates, which I believe gave rise to the dino outbreak. So I've since corrected that, and I'm trying to get the nitrate levels back up. I'll actually have to buy some Brightwell's Neophos in order to try and keep the phosphate levels up as well. But it's going to be a process, and at this point, it's going to be months before I expect to be able to put any acros back into this tank. To deal with the dinos, along with raising the nutrient levels, I'm also dosing Dino X, which I think is just starting to show some beneficial effect, but that's a process that's going to take 3 weeks, and I'm barely 4 or 5 days into that process right now. But I guess the word of the moment is discouraged. Like I say, it was hard pulling all of these skeletons out, but I'll give it time. I'll rebuild, and hopefully within the next couple of years, I'll have some significant growth, and the tank will look a little more like what I'd like for it to look like. Well, if nothing else, I can tell you, stay on top of your equipment. Make sure it operates at its optimal capacity, that everything is working correctly. But nonetheless, my LPS survived, my fish survived, and again, we'll rebuild. Well, again, thanks for watching. My name is Ed. Take care.